Hello and good morning friends, welcome to the CC EduSet live lecture. Dear friends, with the third lecture in series on management accounting, today we would be talking on analysis of financial statements. And for this very discussion on the topic, we have once again with us in our studios Dr. Amarjeet Kaur. Dr. Amarjeet Kaur is Professor of Accounting and she is a Dean in a management school in a leading institution, and we would like to tell you all that she is a certified management accountant. She has taught in a US university. So dear friends, we believe that she is the most appropriate person to talk on analysis of financial statements. So without wasting any time, I would like to welcome our guest, Dr. Amarjeet Kaur. Hello ma'am, welcome to the EduSet lecture.
Deepika, thank you very much. Very good morning to listeners. Today we will be talking about analysis of financial statements. I would like to take you to the last discussion on module 2, where we talked about concepts and conventions which we use to write financial statements, our books of accounts. So if we have followed those accounting principles, the financial statements will give us a very precise and a fair picture for any business. So provided, as I said, provided if we follow those accounting standards very well. So moving to this topic today, if we have financial statements created for our business or for any other business in the industry, so how we can draw inferences, some conclusions about the information given in those statements. So let's understand first, what does this financial analysis means. So the financial analysis means when we want to analyze financial data given in financial statements, and I hope you remember, you could recall, financial statements means balance sheet, statement of profit or loss, your cash flow statement. So these are the primarily three financial statements which are used by any company to communicate to the rest of the world about the financial position of its business, right? So the point I am making here is this, when we want to correlate data given in these financial statements, in any of the financial statements which I just referred, we want to correlate the data. Why? So that we could draw some meaningful information or meaningful inference out of the data given in that statement. So that is what analysis means. Now, if we want to understand further, there are three steps in analysis. We would first select those information or data points from financial statements. You may like to analyze only data given in your income statement, or maybe only in balance sheet, or maybe you want to correlate some data given in the income statement with that of balance sheet. So either of the position. So first of all, the first thing is we have to select data. How will we decide that which particular data we need to use? That will depend upon the decision in hand. What you have to decide about, that will decide which particular data you would be selecting from either of the statement or both of the income statement and balance sheet. So once we have selected the data, then we want to relate that data. So we will relate it with the help of either some statement, cash flow statement, fund flow statement, or the most commonly used way of relating the data is, the ratio analysis. So ratio is the best way to correlate data selected from financial statements. And the third step, when the actual analysis is complete, is the evaluation. So once we have selected some data points, then we have basically try to relate them with one of the methodology which we will be discussing after a few minutes from now. And the third thing is we would be drawing some inference out of it by evaluating it, by giving some meaning whatever we have tried to relate information with. So that is what is financial statement analysis. Now you will come across one more word, analysis and interpretation. So this is basically used as a synonym, which is not exactly, but most of the books in this or literature you will refer to will give you an idea that they are kind of interchange, analysis and interpretation. So why it is so? Is there any difference? So basically analysis and interpretation are so much dependent upon each other, that's why they are interchanged. When I say analysis, it is basically simplifying the data available so that we could bring it into use, and interpretation is the final conclusion when we draw. So interpretation is when we draw some conclusion, we draw some inference. So basically interpretation cannot happen unless you analyze, and analysis is of no use without interpretation. So that is why these two words are interchanged in the literature, and I thought it is important to just mention them here. Moving forward, now we would like to talk about how many types of financial analysis do we have for analyzing financial statements. There are two bases on which we divide this types of financial statement analysis. One basis is, if you refer to the slide here, one base is on the basis of material used, and second basis is on the basis of modus operandi we use for the purpose of analysis. So if I refer to the first category shown on the slide in front of you, this is on the basis of material used. So we have two subcategories in it. One is external analysis and the second is internal analysis. So when I say external analysis, so as you know, the title says based on the material used. So external analysis is when the people who are using or who are carrying the analysis have no direct access to the financial data, right? If you are someone who wants to invest into share capital of a particular company, take any example, ABC, XYZ, anyone, right? So who are you? You are not working there, you are not owner as of date. You are not a banker, you are not a government dealing with government agency dealing with that business. What you are doing? You are a retail investor who wants to invest, right? So do you have access to the internal data of the company? No, you don't have, right? So it means you become an external party, an external entity, not having any access to all available information referring to that particular company you intend to invest in. So that is why if any such person, if carries any analysis about a financial health of a business, that is or that would be known as external analysis. The second category in the same group we have is internal analysis. So what is internal analysis? Internal analysis is when someone working within the business, someone who owns the business, someone who has direct access to all unpublished as well as published records of the business would be known as internal analysis. So this is important that we know who is carrying the analysis, because if an external is carrying an analysis, he or she may not have access to the whole data, whole information, financial information of the company. So his someone internally carrying an analysis would have a better information or better results rather than the person if external is carrying. So vis-a-vis both of them, if you compare both of them, someone internally would be more effective in carrying the information analysis than someone externally carrying the analysis. Now the second group here I just referred based on the modus operandi. If you notice down, there were two categories in that particular group. One is horizontal and the second is vertical. So what is horizontal? Horizontal, as the name dictates, if we want to, as an analyst, financial analyst, if I want to analyze financial statements of year on year basis of 2 years together, say for example 2011, 2012, so it becomes horizontal. So I am comparing financial records, financial data of any selected figure. My selection will be based on my decision, but I am selecting data from 2 years which are consecutive with each other. So that is known as horizontal analysis. And when it is vertical, in that case we are not analyzing 2 years data, rather we are analyzing data of only one year, but we are using more than one variable from the same year. I will give you example. Say for example, we are sitting in we just have finished 2015-2016 financial year, just ended, So if I want to study if how a company, you can name this anything, how that company has performed in terms of sales for that year with respect to its operating expenses, or sales in terms of different products it is dealing with, sales in terms of different territory it is operating in. For example, how well the sales were in north, or how bad sales were in south. So how good or bad sales were in east or in west. So what I am doing here, I am comparing sales figures only for a year, but I am referring to different territories or maybe different products. So the point I am trying to make it is that this will be known as vertical if we have data in the same financial year, and horizontal if we are referring to more than one accounting year. So moving forward, now we will talk about importance of financial analysis. So once we are clear with the meaning, why, now the next question is, why do we carry, or what is the objective, or what is the importance of carrying the analysis of financial statements. So here's a slide giving you few points. We want to carry a financial statement analysis. Primarily we want to know the financial health and operating health of a business. As I said, primarily for the financial health. So what does financial health comprise of? You should be knowing that financial health comprises of many things. So this is the liquid position of a company, profitability of a company, solvency of a company, how solvent or insolvent a company is, and then we have the efficiency of a business. So there are many things to figure out before we could conclude what is the financial health of the business in question, right? So let's take them point by point. First thing, as I said, is if we want to know the liquid position of a business. So what is liquid position? So liquid position is basically the capacity of the business that to pay its immediate liabilities or obligation. So how well a business can pay its immediate liabilities. Say for example, demand for salary, demand for wages, demand for suppliers bills. So we have to pay all that. So how well, how easily, how comfortably a business can pay, that can be figured out, that can be inferred if we analyze financial statements. So I will show you how we actually do. I will talk about the tools in the subsequent modules, but here we are just trying to figure out what is the objective of having analysis of financial statements. Moving forward, so the second objective is we want to know the profitability of business. So the profitability, as we know, that the earning capacity of a business. So earning capacity could be defined with reference to sales, or could be defined with reference to the resources used. So there are two ways to decide on the profitability of a business. When we try to correlate sales which comes from income statement with that of the profit which also comes from the income statement, then both the selected variables are from one financial statement, right? Sales vis-a-vis what I said, gross profit or your net profit. So both or all the three examples I referred here belongs to which statement? Yes, income statement or profit and loss account. So this is up to us. What do we want to decide? As I just mentioned in the beginning of the discussion today. So if I want to see the profitability with respect to sales, so it would be only two items from income statement. But if I want to see the profitability of the business with respect to the resources used, the capital employed, or the investment made in the business, then I would be using the net profit or the gross profit from income statement, right? One item coming from income statement, and the second item would be coming from your balance sheet, because balance sheet would give you the amount of resources employed or capital employed for in the business. So that is the point I am making here. That profitability could be either refer to your resources employed or refer to sales, and that would decide where do you select your variables from. Moving forward, now the third objective or importance of carrying analysis of financial statement is to know the solvency position of a business. So if we want to know how solvent a business is, what does it mean? Solvency means that how well a business is in meeting up its long-term liabilities. In liquidity, we see how solvent we are in short run. So kindly mark my words. I am saying in liquidity, we emphasize upon that how solvent we are in short run. And in solvency, what do we see? We see how well or how liquid we will have in the long run. So liquidity in the long run is solvency, and solvency in the short run is liquidity. So I hope you are with me. I use little tricky statement here. So solvency position means how good a business would be carrying its operation even in the long run. I am not referring to the current year in question. I am referring to maybe 3 years after now, maybe 5 years after now, or 10 years after now, maybe 100 years after now. As we just referred in the last module, that Tata started their first company in 1807. 1995 was a Tisco when it came into existence, and it's doing very well even today. So it all depends. So it means Tata, if we refer to the Tata's working, so they are doing very well. Either it comes to solvency or liquidity. That's why they have been able to carry their operation effectively over more than 100 years, right? So now the next objective here is if we want to see how efficiently the business operation, the fourth point on the slide is here which I am discussing. So how efficiently business operations have been carried. If we want to know that, even then we would carry the analysis of financial statement. So when I say efficiency, what does it mean? When I say efficiency, it means let's say operating activities. Let's say how well I collected my debt. People whom I sold on credit, they are my who are they to me? They are my debtors. So we call them as debtors. So they are the ones who have to pay me. So I sold them on credit. So how well a business is in carrying its debt collection. So that is the efficiency of a business. If you have given credit for 60 days and you are able to collect your credit sales within 60 days, means your debt operation is or debt management is effective, right? If you are selling 10 products and your warehouse is storing that 10 products, so I hope you can understand that when we store any product to be sold in the market, in our warehouse, in our godown, it has many costs related to carrying it in future. So we may be paying for the rent for that godown, that warehouse. We may be spending for insurance. We may be paying the salary of the guard who is looking after our stuff there. We may be spending on or paying the interest on the amount which we borrowed from the bank to produce that material which is now in store, right? So, there are many costs related to carrying a stock. So how well I am as a business in managing my stock. I should not have excess of stock lying in my godown. I should not have shortage of stock even when there is a sudden demand. I should not be able to lose that customer simply because I don't have the products ready with me. So that's what is known as how efficient you are in carrying your business operations, and we can study this by analyzing financial statements. So far I addressed 4 things in this objective. One, we want to look for the liquidity position of a business. We should be carrying analysis. If we want to look for the solvency, we should be carrying profitability. Again, we should be carrying the financial analysis. And lastly, I said if I want to see the efficiency of business operations, we should be using the analysis of financial statements. Other than that, there are two more reasons. If I of course this is not the exhaustive list, we can go further, but there are two more important points I would like to discuss under this. One is that if we want to make inter-firm or intra-firm comparison, and another is if we want to predict the present and the future earning capacity of the business. So if I talk about this earning capacity of a business, what is earning capacity? The profitability and profit are two different things. So just to refer, I will address this topic in my subsequent modules in future, but today I will just say there is a difference between profit and profitability, the earnings and the earning capacity. Earning capacity means a business is competent enough, is solid enough or solvent enough to carry its business in the long run. And whereas the profit is the absolute figure, the difference of revenue and the expenses of a particular year. So just moving forward, this analysis of financial statement will help you to understand either a business is good enough to carry its operation in the long run as well or not. We have X amount of earnings this year, can we take it further in the future years, or can we increase it in future year or not? We can analyze it with the help of analysis of financial statement. The last important point here is, if we want to compare two firms, those two firms will be owned by the same promoter. Two companies owned by the same promoters, but they are three plants, for example. One company may have one in North India, another in South, maybe another third in East or West. So if company wants to compare the performance of the companies it owns, we can carry the analysis of financial statement. Else, if a business wants to compare its results with the other businesses, with the competitors. Competitors are the best bet for us, they are the best guide for us. So if we want to compare with them, even then we would be carrying the analysis of financial statement. So these are the points which helps us analyzing financial statements. Now I would like to discuss the last topic in this module, and that is the limitation of financial statements. So refer to the graph here. There are 5 important limitations mentioned. So the first limitation is, when we are, as I just ended up, that if we want to compare two businesses, this was the importance, this was the objective. But there could be a limitation if two businesses are not of same size. If two businesses are of different size, are working or operating in different economic conditions, they may not be comparable. So this is the limitation. The second is accounting practices. So as I said, we take a financial data either from income statement or from balance sheet. So your data comes from where? Your data comes from financial statements. If the financial statements which are prepared are not correct, are not fair, not true, then whatever the inference you may draw from your analysis, that will not be reliable, that will not be very fair or reliable, dependable. The third limitation we have is subjectivity within the company or changes within the company. So there could be analysis being carried by someone from the company. They want to show a rosy picture. So they may play with the data, they may present or influence the data with their own judgment. Instead of following the concepts and conventions to write those financial statements, if some subjectivity has been brought in purposefully with some agenda in mind, then definitely if you use that information to draw conclusion, your information through your analysis is not as reliable as it should be. The fourth limitation is that industry or economic trends. If we have changes taking place in the economy and our business is affected because of that, so we cannot say that the business is doing exceptionally well or exceptionally bad. It could be either way. For example, I remember few years ago there was tsunami in Japan, and there was advisory by many countries including US and many more countries that not to buy any produce from that geographical area where we have that radiation in the nuclear plants because of tsunami and all. So if you remember, if you can recall that incident, that's not very in the past, it is just recent few years only. So what is this? This was something natural that happened in the economy, and if a business could not do well in that year, a business working in Japan in that particular geographical location, we cannot inference, we cannot draw that business is not doing well or has not been doing well. So then that becomes an exceptional or abnormal condition. So we have to take into consideration such abnormal situations. That's the point I am making out, and accordingly we should be drawing some inferences. The last thing is that we have price level changes, inflation, right, and technological developments. So we have to give emphasis, or we have to consider price level changes, which we do not. We should be, because if I have purchased a piece of land 20 years ago and now it is 10 times more of its value what I paid for, so I cannot say that I have done very well and my assets have gone up. Those increment in asset is simply because of the market price or market value. So price level changes, if we do not take into consideration, which we do not, by the way, in financial statement, this is a limitation that we do not adjust inflation, the price level changes, while drawing inferences. So the best inference would be if we adjust it for price level changes and then we draw some conclusion. That will be the best modus operandi to carry analysis of financial statements. So with this module is over. Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you all. We are beginning with module 6, which is a comparative and common size financial analysis. So if you refer to my previous discussion in module 5, I talked about analysis of financial statements. Today I am going to talk about 3 tools which we use for analyzing financial statements. Have a look at this slide on your screen and you will find I am referring to 3 methods or tools only: comparative statements, common size statements and trend analysis. They are the simplest most tools in financial statement analysis. There are few more important tools of analyzing financial statements. That is ratio analysis, fund flow analysis and cash flow analysis, which I shall be covering in the future modules. So let's begin with the first one, comparative statement analysis. So comparative statement analysis, also known as horizontal analysis. What do we do in this? Horizontal analysis shows the changes between the financial data in 2 years in both rupee value as well as in your percentage value. So basically, if we compare the difference between previous year and the current year, that is an absolute change, right? That change would be reflected in a statement, and that statement would be known as comparative statement. So when I am saying comparative statement, it means we will be preparing a separate statement for balance sheet and a separate statement for income statement. So it means if we make an income statement comparative, it will be known as comparative income statement, and if we compare balance sheets for 2 years, it will be known as comparative balance sheet, right? So let's have a look, how do we calculate it. So here's a formula on your screen. It is showing you, we calculate the dollar change or rupee change in total, which is absolute value. So by subtracting the base year figure from the current year figure. So if my current year is 2008, so I will be subtracting the value of 2007, which is the previous year, from the current year, and it will be giving me the difference in absolute value, right? Now the same absolute value can be presented. Now this is the next slide I have just switched to. So it will be presenting the change in percentage. So what do? We divide this total dollar value or rupee value by the base year figure and and show it in percentage by multiplying in with 100. So this is basically percentage. So it's not difficult at all. The most easiest one, as I said in the beginning itself, this is the most easiest tool, just to give you a basic idea about the financial health of a business, which is the primary objective of carrying business in analysis for any business. So here. If I move forward, have a look at the slide, because I am going to illustrate you with the help of some good example. So kindly look at the slide. The slides shows you the information regarding Clover Corporation. You may say it is a case of Clover Corporation company. Balance sheet is there, right? And we have balance sheet data for 2 years, 2007 and 2008. And if you refer to the third column, after 2007, the fourth column, it shows increase, and the last column shows the percentage. So basically increase or decrease both can be shown in the fourth column, and the last column, the fifth column, will show the change in percentage. So in accounting, this is a practice to show any value. If it is a negative, we put it in bracket. So brackets denotes value or change in negative. So what was there? This is the data for balance sheet. So we have a few items in the assets, few items in the liabilities. So cash is the first item shown here, and it was 23,500 in the beginning in 2007, and now it has gone down to 12,000. So right, so what has happened? So if you subtract, the difference is been shown in the fourth column, and that is the absolute change. So if you divide, if you look at those two boxes which are there at the bottom of the slide, if you divide this difference of 11,500 with 23,500 and multiply it with 100, it gives you 48.9%. So that is what is comparison. So and is known as comparative balance sheet. So we are basically doing a comparative analysis of balance sheet item as shown on this slide. So we can repeat it for all the items. At the end I will discuss with you, once we have all the items calculated, I will discuss with you how to draw inference out of it. So just now have a look on the slide here in front of you, and we have calculated all the values in absolute term as well as in percentage form. So what is there? The cash has gone down and by 48.9%, accounts receivables have gone up by 20%, so 50% increase, inventory 20,000 down and is down by 20%. So we have calculated these values shown in red in the last two columns by using the formula which was just shared with you here, right? So I am showing you it again. So the change in rupee divided by the base year value multiplied by 100 has given you these values. So is there any inference you can draw from this? Just I am giving you just 2 seconds, 3 seconds to think of what is happening. If you refer to your total, your total assets have gone up by 8.7%, right? The last figure on the slide, your total assets have gone down by 8.7%, whereas your total current assets, which is a part of total assets, because our total assets comprises two things, current assets as well as fixed assets. Your total current assets have gone down by 5.9%. What does it mean? How come our fixed assets have gone up? Maybe, we will have to go further. Maybe we have used our current assets to buy our long term assets, which is fixed assets, which is not a good business decision. That is the first immediate inference we can draw from here, right? So just calculation is not difficult, as I said. Calculation is very, very easy. Calculation is just a simple, percentage calculation as we do for our results even. Moving forward, here is the data for income statement in front of you. Now you are having a data for 2 years, but the items here are from income statement or statement of profit or loss. So we have sales for 2007 480,000 and for 2008 520,000, which may you call as 5,20,000, right? So same method would be used here, but what we did in the last slide, we would be subtracting 480 from 520. So base year value was 480, which would be subtracted from 520,000. The difference is 40,000 and it is shown on the slide in front of you. And if I want to calculate percentage change, there is an upward change by 8.3%, right? I hope you all are with me. So next is cost of goods sold. Same way we subtracted the value of 315,000, which is the value for 2007, from that of 2008, which was 360,000. So the difference of these two values is 45,000 and the percentage change is coming out to be 14.3%. So same thing has been repeated for all the items. So can you draw any inference from it? Just spend a second, spend few seconds to have a look on the data. So we have in fact net income gone down by 21.9%. The last row on the slide showing you the change in net income. Net income has gone down by 21.9%, almost 22%, even after having increase in sales, isn't it? You just have a look on the slide and review. Your sales have gone up by 40,000, whereas your profit has gone down by 4,900 in absolute value and by almost 22% in percentage. So what all inference we can draw? If you have observed the slide carefully, there were two important things which were popping up. One was your operating cost has gone up significantly. You know, your operating cost for the year has gone. I have marked it with yellow. Refer to the second row marked in yellow, which says the cost of goods sold has gone up by 14.3%. That is what has actually eaten up our increase in sales. We sold more. We could sell more, but even then we could not earn more, simply because we could not have control on the cost. Our cost of goods sold has gone up by 14%, and our operating expense, the second item here is the operating expenses, even they have gone up. Operating expenses have gone up by 2.1%. So they together have actually taken up our toll on our increased sales, and our profits have gone down by 4900, so by 21.9%. so that is how. So this was a case I have taken to help you illustrate, to help you understand that how does we draw some inference from financial data of a company by using comparative analysis or comparative statements tool as the simplest tool. The most commonly used tool for an analysis is ratio analysis, which I am not covering today. We will be discussing that in future modules, but this is the first and the easiest one to analyze financial statement. Let's move forward and talk about common size statement, the second tool in the agenda. The common size statements, they use percentages to express the relationship of individual components of total within a single period. As I just said, they are also known as vertical analysis, right? So what do we do? If you refer to the slide in front of you, we actually compare any item of income statement with the total sales, which is taken as 100%. So what becomes base in vertical analysis? If I am making an analysis on income statement, my total sales are presumed to be 100%, and rest of the items are expressed, are related with sales, right? So sales becomes basis, and any item which is concerned to you to study, we would be correlating with. And when I have to study the balance sheet, then what becomes the total value or the base value? My total assets. So if I have to study income statement by using this common size statement, which is also known as vertical analysis, I shall be using total sales, and for balance sheet item I shall be using total assets as my base, and I would be comparing rest of the items. Say for example, I have land, machinery, I have capital, I have debtors, creditors. These are the items in balance sheet, right? I want to study any item, change in debtors, creditors, how I want to draw some inference from the last few years or this year. So what should I be doing? I would be comparing the particular item I selected by relating it to total assets, the value of total assets. So simple relationship, but the base is defined in advance and is established in the literature of accounting. Yeah. So here's again a case of the same company in front of you, Clover Corporation. So now I am taking the data, and I am using it to express, to make you understand common size statements or vertical statement. How do we carry the comparison of by using this tool of common size statements? So what I am doing here, I am taking, if you refer to the first or rather second row after year, the row which is marked in yellow, it says net sales. So we have net sales for 2 years, which we used in the previous example as well. So 480,000 becomes 100%, becomes what as base for me if I want to study 2007. If I want to study 2008, because this is, mind you, this is common size, this is not comparative. We have, if I am just giving you 2 examples altogether here. 2007 is independent from that of 2008, and 2008 520,000 sales for the company Clover Corporation becomes as base, right? So net sales is the base and is expressed in 100. It is just marked in the purple circle here. So how do I calculate? Now refer to the slide in front of you. So cost of goods sold is one item, right? And management wants to study that what is the percentage of cost of goods sold to sales. So simply we will be carrying this common size analysis by putting what? By taking 360,000 for 2008 as the item under study and divided with the base value. And what is the base value? 520,000, and that gives you 69.2%. So which means the cost of goods which company is selling is 69% of the sales, 69.2%, and for 2007 it was 65.6. It means the cost of goods sold has gone up from 65.6 to 69.2. And when I am doing this, when I am comparing two percentages, I am not doing common size, mind you, I am using comparative. So when I am showing you these two things together, I am using both vertical as well as horizontal altogether to draw more meaningful inferences out of the discussion or out of the analysis, right? So we can repeat this for rest of the items in the balance sheet or in the comparative statement. Now have a look on the slide what I have done. So we have calculated the same thing, the vertical, this value for all of the items in the statement. So we have this value for gross margin, operating expenses, we have value for not operating income as well as interest expense, net income before taxes and income taxes, all items is and lastly net income as well. So any inference can we draw from here? Can you draw any inference out of it? Yeah. The sales were 100% for 2007, out of which the cost of goods sold was 65%, right? Your gross margin was 34%, which was not bad, which was quite a good figure. I am referring to the last column, please, 2007. So your gross margin was quite a big amount, 34.4%, but you ended up with the net margin of only 4.7%. Why? Because your operating expense, which was under your direct control, are of very high amount. They are of 26%. So they have taxed you. They have taken a good toll on your margin. They have gobbled it up and has given you only 4.7%. Same way, you can draw the conclusion for 2008. So that is how we carry the analysis under common size statement for when we talk about any business and the data from income statement or from balance sheet. So here's a quick question for you. Just check this question. Check this question on the slide. This question says, which of the following statements describes horizontal analysis? What should be your answer? Have a look at the options. Option 1 says a statement that shows items appearing on it in percentage and dollar form or means rupee form. A side-by-side comparison of 2 or more years financial statements. A comparison of accounts balances on the current year's financial statement, or none of the above. So what should be your answer? I am going to share the answer. Kindly check either you were right or not. The answer is B. Means a side-by-side comparison of 2 or more years financial statement is known horizontal. And if we compare the same items but from the same a couple of items but from the same year, it is a vertical analysis. So I hope you are clear with horizontal and vertical analysis both. Now the last thing, as I said, the third tool we would be talking is trend analysis. So how do we calculate trend? Trend percentages are basically, they state financial data in terms of percentages for more than 1 year. So that is why we call them as trend percentages or trend analysis. It's a very good tool. Data of 1 or 2 years not enough to draw any any effective conclusion or inference out of it, we have to refer to at least 5-year, 7-year, 8-year, 10-year data. Only then we can draw some conclusion. And when it comes to drawing some good conclusion for the for the economy as a whole, so then definitely there are business or there are government organizations, or there are couple of agencies, government agencies, which may use data for maybe 10 years, 20 years, 50 years for that matter. So there are certain inferences which cannot be drawn just by referring to a year's data or 2 years data, right? So how do we calculate trends? So let's see, or let's learn this with the help of this small case in front of you. I am using this small case of Berry Products. The income corporation is there, and for the year ended December 31st, 2006 and 2007, 5, 4 and 3. So we have data for 5 years beginning from 2003 to 2007. So make sure this is not the complete income statement. We just have data of 3 important items drawn from income statements. That's why we should be calling it as extracts from income statement. So we need not to, as I said, we need not to be using all variables of income statement or balance sheet to draw some conclusion. It all depends what all inference or what all question is there in hand to be answered, what all concern is there to be addressed. That will be deciding that which particular data you would be using. So since I am taking it as a caselet only, a small example only in front of you, so I have taken these 3 important items, right? So we have data of sales, cost of goods sold and gross margin. So in trend percentages, one thing is important, the base year is decided by the analyst only. And if you are a student, you are pursuing or you are analyzing financial statement in the capacity of a student, and when it comes to exam, then in most of the exams paper you should be given the base year. So generally we have a clarity of which particular year would be used as base year. We generally use a rule of thumb here that we generally ignore or we do not take an abnormal year. That, for example, I just quoted the Japan's example. When we have tsunami, then there was radiation in nuclear plants, and that soil that produce was not recommended to be eaten by the people around. So there were advisory by many state governments and federal governments, including Indian government, so not to buy import from that particular geographical area. So that particular year is a good example to understand should be excluded to be taken as base year. So it means base year should be as normal as possible, so that our inferences are reliable, more dependable, right? So this data is for 5 years for Berry Products, and we have 3 items: sales, cost of goods sold and gross margin. So by taking 2003 as 100%, so how do we calculate trend percent? Refer to the box in blue which is at the bottom of the slide. What are we doing? We took 290,000, which is 2,90,000, and divided it with the value given in 2003, which was 2,75,000, and multiplied it with 100. So it means my sales are up by 105% from the previous year. So now I am referring or having the value by having a comparison with the previous year. And so is true for the remaining 2 of items. Cost of goods sold is up by 104% and your gross margin is up by 108%, right? That is clear. So same thing can be done basically for rest of the years you have in hand. and that is what would be known or taken as trend percentages. So trend percentages are basically more effective to draw conclusions about the financial health of any business, and I have given you this exact example in front, that how do we calculate a trend percentage. In fact, you as a student would be using trend percentages in small projects. If you have been given a project, go during your summer terms, we have a practice in Indian universities to send students for industrial visits, to send students for industrial projects, to send students for summer term projects, right, where you go and spend 8 weeks, 6 weeks in industry and you learn. So I have seen many students using trend percentages because this is the easiest way of analyzing financial statements. As I said, common statement and common size and comparative statements are good because they are very simple, but they are not very reliable because they use either 1 year data or 2 year data. Whereas this trend analysis uses that data at least for 5 years. You can extend it for 10 years, and more you extend, more better inferences we can draw from the data. So this is all about the tools, 3 tools which we discussed today: comparative statements, common size statements, and trend analysis. Rest of the tools we will be addressing in the future or subsequent modules. Thank you.
With this note, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much for another productive session we had
with
you, and we believe that the student who might be watching us would have questions. So
yes.
We request them to kindly send their questions through the email ID, that is info.cc@nic.in. Dear friends, if you want your questions to be answered, so please mail us so that the next time when Dr. Amarjeet Kaur visits our studio, we could answer to your questions.
Yes.
We would be meeting again very soon and would be discussing more on the management accounting. Till then, take care. Goodbye. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you
so very
Thank
much.
you, everyone.